What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another NFL 2025 preview. Um, we've been doing these things for a while now, so hit that like, hit that subscribe. Today, we getting into the NFC North. Lions, Vikings, Packers, Bears. Oh my. We're going to get into all those teams. So hit that like and subscribe, and we'll be right back right after the intro. Let's get it.
Righty K, the Raisin Man.
All right. Let's start it off here with the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions last year, y'all already know, got eliminated by the Washington Commanders in that playoff game. Now, the Lions, everybody's high on the Lions, but they did lose two coordinators. Remember, Aaron Glenn, gone. Ben Johnson, gone. So it's on those two men right there on your screen. Dan Campbell and Jared Goff to keep this team rolling. Last year, 15-2. Who knew the Lions could be so good? 15-2 for the Lions last year. MGM got them in at 10.5. 10.5. So slight dip, but never mind that. Do got a tough schedule though. Third toughest schedule in the league. But I want to talk about last year before we move into the future. That's how we doing this show. So I'm gonna turn it over to my bros, Coach Ed Gladney from Coach Ed's Amazing World of Sports and Big Pat Sports Talk. My NFL aficionados, tell me what you guys think or thought about the Lions season last year and how they are looking to rebound from, I guess, a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, a lot of people were expecting them to go to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl favorites should at least made the NFC Championship game, but Washington Commanders caught you slipping and put you out. So it's going to be interesting to see. This is really an intriguing year for the Lions. Coming in as the hunted, so to speak. Ain't nobody going to take it light on the so-called lowly Lions anymore. No, they not that no more. They are perennial NFC favorites, Super Bowl favorites. But my brothers, Pat, Coach, talk to me. What are you guys' thoughts on what happened with the Lions last year, and what do you think they need to do moving forward into this year to get back to that point or get past that point and hopefully finally get to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl? Talk to me.
Well, the Lions last year, man, they did go 15-2 in the regular season. They had a little bit of a letdown in the playoffs against the rookie sensation Jaden Daniels over there in the NFC East. They have some good teams over there, but The Lions last year, man, they were pretty much dominant when they had their run game going. When they didn't have to depend on Jared Goff going out there and making huge plays for him, and he was able to control the game, that's when the Lions are their most dangerous. Now, can that offensive line perform the same way that they did last year? Can Sonic and Knuckles, as my man Shakes called them, Montgomery and Gibbs, keep that running game going the way they did last year? Because when they get that running game going, there's another man that gets going. That's Amon-Ra St. Brown. He gets going. And if they got all that going, their offense looks pretty much unstoppable. The only thing that stopped them last year was their defense. Their defense down the stretch had a bunch of injuries. When Aiden Hutchinson got hurt, their defensive tackles got hurt. A couple of the DBs got hurt. And it really hurt their Super Bowl chances last year. But Detroit, they're going to be rocking again this year, man, because ain't nothing changed but some coordinators. And Dan Campbell was still there. The head man is still there. So I think the Lions are going to do well again this year. Will they get 15 wins? I doubt it. That's hard to do consecutive years, but they're still going to be a very formidable team. But, Coach, talk to them, man. What did they do last season that made them get those 15 wins, man? Tell them.
Well, Pat, you make some great points in terms of the Lions overall in their breakdown. When we take a look at the points, the points for 564, they were first in the league. Points against 342, which was seventh in the league. Their SRS was 13.7, which is first in the league, and the strength of schedule was 0.71. Now, the total team points, again, was at 564. Total yards was 6,962, and their per average play was 6.2. So, that's very efficient there. Passing, they completed 399 passes in 551 attempts, 4,474 yards, passing yards, 39 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Rushing, they attempted 534 rushing attempts, 244 yards, 29 rushing touchdowns, and an average of 4.7 yards per carry. Now, the league ranks the points, they were number one. Passing yards, they were number 2. Passing touchdowns were number 4. Passing interceptions were 16. Rush yards were 6. Rushing touchdowns were second. So you see how efficient that offense was. Defensively, point scores, they were 7th. Total yards, they were 20th. Pass yards, they were 30th. Pass touchdowns, though, were number 2. Pass interceptions were number 5. Rush yards were number 5. And rushing touchdowns were number 18. So that speaks to how efficient the defense was. When you get into the red zone, they're not giving up a lot of touchdowns, but you can move the ball into scoring positions. So that's where teams will try and capitalize. Now, player who, to me, was most impactful, here it is, Jahmyr Gibbs. Played in 17 games, but started only 4. Rushing, had 244 yards. Attempts, 250 attempts. Yards was 1,412. Touchdowns, 17, and he averaged 5.6 yards per carry. Receiving, he had 63 targets, 52 receptions, 517 yards, 4 touchdowns, averaged 9.9 yards per reception. Total scrimmage, 302 touches for 929 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6.4 average per touch, and for touchdowns, 15.1. So that speaks about how dynamic a player he is. And now, if you want to know about the player that's coming in, that's going to be the most impactful, I said it's DJ Reed. In his career, 101 games played, 70 started, 6 interceptions, 51 pass defense, 4 forced fumbles, 4 recoveries, 2 sacks, total tackles, 414 tackles, 32 solo, 326 solo, 88 assisted, tackles for losses are at 12. He's an adept at playing in the man or in the zone. He's a physical, in-your-face cornerback. He's having played both in the slot and the outside. He isn't afraid of playing in run defense. He loves to hit, So offensive players, he loves to hit offensive players and is a steady tackler. He's smallish on the side and will have him bouncing off bigger offensive players. In the pass coverage, he does well playing the receivers, hips on the release. He does get grabby when beat by receivers or is unable to properly control the receivers going down the field. So, he's going to be the most impactful for these Lions going into next year. So that's what I have for you. Sending it back to my brothers.
Yeah. The Lions do got some things to work on. But they do have that man Dan Campbell. They do have Jared Goff, but let's see what they don't have. Let's see who they lost. Let's take a look at some of the key losses here as we get into it. Teddy Bridgewater. I thought he was on that team last year. Anyway, here's where I'm looking at, fellas. Coach, I'm with you because the offensive line is such a key component to this Lions team. It's the most important component to this team because of how they play with that running game and with a non-mobile quarterback. Frank Ragnow retiring, the man on the screen right there. Kevin Zeitler going to the Lions. Yeah, they did lose some pieces on the offensive line. Now, this something to talk about a little bit here. Zadarius Smith, he's out of there. Allen Robinson is out of there too, as well. And they lost a bunch of corners. But who stands out to you guys? Man? Talk to me.
All right. The one that stands out to me, man, shout out to Coach. He always talking about the big uglies, the sexy fatties, whatever you want to call them. Frank Ragnow, man, retiring from that offensive line. He was a leader of that offensive line at the center position. And they have to fill that center position this year. That's the guy that makes out the calls. He's the one that calls out blitzes. He's the one that makes, Jared Goff's life a lot easier. And he was a great puller when it came to the run game for the Detroit Lions. And in order to get that man that coach was talking about, Jamari Gibbs, to get those 5.6 yards per carry and 15.1 yards per touchdown, 17 touchdowns last year. Gibbs was doing his thing. But Frank Ragnow, man, I do believe this is one of the key losses. Shout out to him. I think he might have a chance of getting that gold jacket going in there, man. Ragnow was a beast. But that's my key loss, man. Coach, what do you think is a key loss for the Lions going into this year?
Well, my key is actually going to be Kevin Zeitler. It definitely is, continuing on that offensive line. He's another veteran as a former New York Giant. We know what he can do as an offensive lineman. He's steady. The impact that, he has partnering up with Ragnow, because that's another factor. You have two guys that play together and they know each other and they know how to work combinations, working down to the second level. So that hurts that offense. And you saw it, they had the number one offense last year. So when you lose the offensive lineman, especially in the interior, I talked about Ragnow, possible gold jacket. Zeitler, well, I'm not saying he's a gold jacket. He's a steady influence. He's a steady player on that offensive line. He's a veteran, so, that's, the key is going to be what did the Lions do to shore up the interior of the offensive line? Because that also, when you have a quarterback who's not that mobile, teams are going to push the pocket right into his face, so, that's going to be a big factor going forward. So back to you, NYG.
Yeah, let's take a look at what they added, because again, losing the offensive line pieces that they lost and losing two coordinators, I don't think that's something you can sneeze at. Now, we're going to get into the Vikings, the Bears, and the Packers a little bit later, but they're coming for you. They're coming for you, Detroit. So let's see what they did in the offseason. We're gonna start with the free agents here and the signings. One that stands out to me, man, is the man right there on your screen, man. That's Mr. DJ Reed. DJ Reed coming over from the Jets. You see they lost 4 cornerbacks, so they definitely need to get stronger there. As Coach mentioned, they gave up a ton of yards. I think they were 30th in pass yards, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, he's going to help. He is definitely going to help. You know, they re-signed Marcus Davenport. You got a couple other corners in there that they signed. Avonte Maddox, Kirby Joseph. Big deal for Kirby Joseph there. 4-year, $86 million extension. So he's locked in there for the Lions for the long term. But who stands out to you guys as far as the key additions are concerned?
Yeah, I think we all in lockstep, man. That man, DJ Reed, this is my guy, man, that comes in for the Detroit Lions to shore up that secondary, man, to stop them giving up those big, huge plays that cost them in that Washington game in the playoffs, man. Losing that game at home, man, Lions fans were horribly sad after that loss. But DJ Reed, you know, with Kirby Joseph out there, Rock Ya-Sin, you know, the veteran coming in, man, they can actually lock up some people. And if Aiden Hutchinson is healthy and they get that pass rush back to where they were going, with the addition of Derek Barnes at the linebacker position, who was underrated, I think this Lions defense can change it around. If they could play defense and play the way they play on offense, woo! It's gonna be a problem out there in Detroit, man. Detroit ain't been this good since back when Barry Sanders was doing this thing. But hey, Coach, I got DJ Reed as my key addition. What you think, Coach?
Yeah, I know we're all lockstep. You know, you already saw what I said about DJ Reed. You know, adding, you know, Rock Ya-Sin is a good point. You know, definitely got to fix that defense, shore it up. But, you know, I talked about the offensive line. You know, number one, keeping Dan Skipper. You know, he's a little versatile. While he's not one of the elite, I think he fits what they're trying to do. Don't forget, he's also their tight end. You know, so they're big body tight end in big situations. So, you know, keeping him, he knows what's going on. Can he slide in, you know, as a possible starter? We'll see when we look at the depth chart. But, you know, right there, I think that's a good keeping force right there in terms of having Dan Skipper stay with the team, knows the system. So, and you know what? You can move him inside. Can he help protect your quarterback? So that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's it, man. The Lions had to get better on the back end. I mean, I was really one of their glaring weaknesses. They also lost, as you guys mentioned, they lost Aiden Hutchinson, so that hurt them as well, which, you know, got the back end exposed, man. I think they gave up 45 in that playoff game with Jaden Daniels and company. So let's see if they can make some improvements in the draft as well, as we take a look at their draft picks. The Lions are a team, I mean, at this point, you know, they pretty solid all the way across the board. We're going to look at the roster, but I love this draft, especially the first 3 picks right there. The first 4 picks, really, Tyleik Williams, Tate Ratledge, the guy on the screen right there. That's my man's Tate Ratledge, man. I think he's going to be big for the Lions on this offensive line. Also picking up Miles Frazier, another underrated offensive lineman from LSU. Safety Dan Jackson out of Georgia. Think he could be pretty good. Defensive tackle, that first round pick, number 28, Tyleik Williams. He was definitely on my list as you know, top 5 defensive fits for the Giants, my team, if you guys looked at my channel. But yeah, man, y'all know we love the draft. College football is upon us. Let's talk about these draft picks, man. Who is one of you guys' favorite picks when you take a look at this list. I didn't even talk about Isaac from the wide receiver from Arkansas. I think he's pretty good too. Okay.
Well, I am, and that's one of the top draft picks that I think that they're gonna have. And he showed it already for the Lions in their first preseason game. Isaac Tesla, man, he's gonna make some big plays for this team. He's long, he's rangy, he can run good routes, catch radius. I think this guy is gonna have a Puka Nacua vibe to this team to add with St. Brown. Man, this guy's gonna have an outstanding season. Coach, I know you love the big uglies, and they had some big sexy fatties in those first 3 to 4 picks, but this guy right here, he's gonna keep that offensive rolling. He's gonna give a target for Jared Goff to where he is inaccurate. He normally throws it high, and this guy could go up there and get that ball for him. Check out them on that preseason game. Hey, Big Pat Sports Talk was on the call as well, and he made some big plays in that game, showing you why I picked this guy as their top key addition in the draft, besides the sexy fatties. But Coach, don't get on to me too hard, man. Talk about your guy.
You know what, Tesla? Yes, when I watched a little bit of the game, I said he did stand out to me. So, I agree with you totally. But of course, number 1, number 2, and the 4 pick, the sexy fatties. I talked about it earlier. What do they do to shore up the inside? Tate Ratledge and Miles Frazier, young, developing, experienced guys, played at high level in college football, so they're not afraid of the limelight. Tariq Williams, another one playing at the Ohio State, winning a championship. He knows what it takes to be disruptive as an inside force, playing in the Big Ten, whether the teams will run at you or, getting after them in the pass game. So, those are the ones to me that stand out the most. They fit my mold in terms of the sexy fatties, and they're going to bring it every play. When that ball is snapped, it's going to be a war, and they're going to be in there fighting in those trenches. So those are the ones that I think will have the most impact coming out of this rookie class. So, but back to my brother NYG.
Speaking of the trenches, we got to look at the Lions trenches, and we got to look at this depth chart here and break it down. Let's put this team on the scope. Let's put this team on the scope because y'all know how we do. Let me talk about this, though, for a minute before I turn it over to Pat and Coach. The Lions, a lot of this, I know this team is really loaded. I'm not even going to get into that. I'm just going to let y'all get into that there. I just want to talk about this for a second. This Lions team, it all is on, a lot of this is on Jared Goff. And I'm going to tell you why. Because this team has depth. This team has a solid offensive line. This team has a solid defensive line. They got pieces in the secondary. They got pieces of a solid linebacker group. The running backs, Sonic and Knuckles. The receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of my favorite receivers in the league. He wins me fantasy leagues every damn season, damn near. A lot of this is on those guys, man. I'm sorry. Jared Goff gets hurt. You bringing in Hendon Hooker. Woo. Woogly moogly. I don't know if that's going to turn out. I mean, I'm sure Hendon can probably hand the ball off, but yeah, at some point you're going to have to throw. But y'all know how we do. Coach, you talk about, I want Coach to talk about the offense and the offensive line and the sexy fatties. Pat, go on defense. Talk about them edge rushes, man, that the Lions got over there. Let's get it.
All right. Well, in terms of the offense, you look at that wide receiving core, and that's nothing to sleep on, man. That's going to cause havoc in terms of defensive coordinators. What do you do to really give good coverage. With Jameson Williams, Amon St. Brown, Tim Patrick, Tesla. We just talked about him. Khalif Raymond is no one that you could sleep on. He's a little, scat, type of a receiver that can cause a lot of problems. And then when you look at the offensive line, Decker, solid. Christian Mahogany, man, that's a beast. That's a beast, young guy. They got Tate Ratledge at center. Think about that. They got him at center. Graham Glasnow, good. Panay Sewell, that offensive line right now, they did a good job of shoring up losing two guys. Ratledge can fill the role. NYG, you just talked about it in terms of the running game. Their tight end in Laporta, you said it best. This is going to fall on Jared Goff, because him to Hooker, two different type of quarterbacks in a sense. Hooker's a lot more mobile, so he can give if he came in, but is he the passer? Might have a better arm, still young, still developing, but Jared Goff is going to fall on him. You have the running game. That offensive line is going to open up those alleys for Gibbs to attack, for Montgomery to attack, to be explosive, to get good play action, and give Goff time to turn around and get the football down the field to the playmaker. So, when you sit here and you look at this offense, you said it best, NYG, they're stacked. They really are. So, very impressive. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do. Shout out to my family up there in Detroit. Y'all talk to me about it all the time. So, you know what? We're going to see this year. We're going to see. Hopefully, you guys will be smiling brightly, except if y'all face my squad. So, but over to you, Pat. Talk about that defense over there, man.
Hey, man, you always throw some curveballs out there, NYG. Normally, I talk about the offense, but you let Coach get it shine on with the sexy fatties, man. The sexy fatties over there.
I had to, because they got a hell of a line over there.
Man, they got a hell of an offensive line over there with the Detroit Lions. But, man, we're going to talk about, I do believe is going to be the key to this team in the playoffs. Not the regular season, but the playoffs, and that's this defense, man. And we're going to talk about some more sexy fatties, man. This defensive line could be absolutely monstrous, man. You got Aiden Hutchinson, DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, Marcus Davenport. That is a defensive line for your ass out there, because if they could get after the quarterback, they got the back end handled now, man. With Terry Arnold, it's coming up from Alabama doing his thing. You got Kirby Joseph getting his contract, DJ Reed coming over, and I think that makes them a very formidable team with Anik Robertson in the slot, and he is pesky and he's an opportunist, so he could get those turnovers for those guys while DJ Reed and Terry Arnold handle the outside. Then you got Derek Barnes and Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone at linebacker. This team is stacked. Like, man, I didn't even know they was this stacked, man. This team is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you got a coach like Dan Campbell who's going to get the best out of his players, or you going to get the F off the team? With that culture that's built in there, with that amount of talent, you ain't got no choice but to be good. So, yeah, man, this roster, they are stacked on defense and offense when you look at it. It's all about discipline. What are you going to do when you go into the season? Are you going to have holding penalties that give teams first downs on defense? Are you going to jump off sides because you're so eager to get after the quarterback? Are you going to miss tackles the way they were during the stretch of last season? That's the only thing that's going to hurt this team, because this offense, as long as that offensive line holds up, I don't see you holding this team under 3 touchdowns at the very least. I think they score at least 24 to 28 points every game this year. And that's going to be tough to beat those guys, because you're going to have to put up 30 points against that defense. I don't know, man. But, NYG, take it back over, man. That's the offensive defense for the Detroit Lions, baby.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. It's a loaded team, man. But they do have a little bit of a challenging schedule here, if I may say. So they're gonna make them earn it. They gonna make the Lions earn it this year. Of course, you're talking about your division. Enough said there, but then you gotta face the NFC East. You gotta face the AFC North. So who both have 3 potential playoff teams in each division. And you know, the Giants and Browns they should be scrappy. At least they do got good defense. So the Lions are gonna make you earn it. The Lions are gonna make you. I mean, they're gonna make the Lions earn it. I should say. You also got a cross division matchup against the Rams. That's that first place schedule. Kicking in right there. So y'all play Kansas City too. Hey, threw them on the schedule. Yikes. But 10.5 is where they got it at, fellas. 10.5 over under. What we doing?
Man, looking at this schedule, man.
10.5.
You gotta play your division twice. Those are no gimme games, even though I think they can win both those games. But the Packers always seem to play them very well for some reason. Then you don't know what the Bears are gonna do. We'll talk about them later, as well as the Packers. Then you got the Ravens. Woo. Then Cleveland, Cincinnati, Kansas City. Kansas City's gonna be tough, but they beat Kansas City almost every time they play them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's in Kansas City too.
yeah, that's true. Home cooking for real over there in Kansas City. Then you got Tampa Bay, who's no slouch. Minnesota, no slouch. Washington, no slouch. Philadelphia is Philadelphia Super Bowl champs. Then you got us, the New York Giants, get a little bit of a reprieve. Then the Packers. Then the Cowboys, maybe a little bit of a reprieve. The Rams, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. Good God. Yeah, this schedule is vicious. But you know what? That defense shows up. I don't see no reason why they can't win 11 games this year. I don't see no reason why. Reason because I think they can be very good in their division. Maybe 2 losses in their division. They can beat New York. They can beat Dallas. They can beat the Rams. They can beat Pittsburgh. They can beat Cleveland. They can beat Cincinnati. They've already beaten Kansas City multiple times. They can beat Tampa Bay. Yeah, I got them over, man. Coach, what you think?
I'm with you too. I think they can win 11, 12 games, to be honest with you. You know, the first 2 division games, that Green Bay game, it wouldn't surprise me if they lost that game. You know, being that it's in Green Bay to start the season, you know, 8-9, but Chicago, home opener, and I know, and your coordinators, your former offensive coordinators over there. So, you know, that's going to be a stepped up game. Baltimore's going to be tough in Baltimore. You know, so, you know, it might be a loss there. I mean, you can play with them, but, you know, it's a matter of, you know, can you handle the physicality, which I think they can, and what your defense is going to do in handling, because Baltimore's going to try and run the ball against you. You know, you can talk about Lamar, but they know what your offense can do. So to control the clock, what are you going to do? Run the ball with Derrick Henry. You know, Cleveland, you know what? It's early in the season. I get it. You know, but if who I think is that quarterback, if Shador is the quarterback, he's still a young quarterback in this league. So, you know, he's still leading an offense. They do have a good defense. I definitely will give them that in terms of Cleveland. But what are you going to do offensively? That's really what it boils down to. Cincinnati, if this defense can hold that off and get after Burrow, because they don't scare me in the run game, Cincinnati. You know, so, and they have no defense, none. You know, they are toilet paper over there. So you know, honestly,
I don't know though. What you thinking though? 10.
I'm thinking
10.5.
Oh, I think they can win 11.
Think they're going over?
Yeah, I think they can, man. I mean, seriously, you look at it. I think they can beat Kansas City is going to be tough, but I think they can beat Kansas City and Kansas City. Tampa Bay, I think they can handle Minnesota's division game. That Washington game, they want blood. You think that Dan Campbell's not going to have him up for that game? He's going to have him up. So Philly's going to be tough. New York, yeah, I get it. We don't know what we're going to be by then, but if our defense is playing like most of us Giants fans are hoping, and we get a little something out of the offense, it could be a lot tougher than most people think. But yes, you do give them Detroit the edge. So, I mean, Green Bay, same thing. Dallas, I think they're going to handle. Los Angeles, tough game. Pittsburgh, towards the end of the season, we'll know if Mr. A-Rod is who they're trying to tout him out to be with Pittsburgh, in the last two division games, especially on the road, cold weather. So
I'm gonna be honest with you. To win 11 games, 17 games scheduled, so they would have to go 11-6. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're going over because if you lose 2 games in your division, I can't see them losing more than 4 outside of the division. Baltimore, Philly, Pittsburgh, Washington will be tough. Those 4 is going to be tough. Kansas City, too. I think out of Tampa Bay, too. Don't sleep on Tampa Bay. But I think you can get I think you can get I don't think you get 4 losses out of those. 5 losses out of those, which would put them at 10-7. So I'm with you guys. I'm going over for the Detroit Lions. But hey, y'all, we got more to do. We got more to preview. And we're going to get into the next team here, which is the Minnesota Vikings. Y'all hit that like, hit that subscribe, ABSN Network, feel the vibe. Let's get it. We'll be right back. All right, we back here now with the Vikings. JJ McCarthy, Kevin O'Connell, you see him up there on the screen. Last year, the Vikings, people forget how good the Vikings were last year. 14-3, the Minnesota Vikings, of course, suffering the loss in the playoffs to the Rams. That game was 27-9. So when you think of the Vikings, you're thinking about points, scoring, and you're also thinking about that defense over there too, with one Brian Flores. But a lot of this upcoming season is going to rest on the young shoulders of one JJ McCarthy. That is the QB now. Ball's in your hands now, kid. Show them what you got. Of course, JJ being hurt last year, and them moving on from Sam Darnold. So it's and Daniel Jones and the rest of the quarterback. So we're gonna get into the losses, but now is the time. You had a year to kind of sit and learn, basically, even though you was rehabbing, didn't get to play. You still had a year to learn. So I'm definitely interested to see what JJ McCarthy has going into this season. But before we get into that, we got to go back and see what the Vikings did last year and what they can improve on and what they need to do going forward. Let's get into it, y'all. Talk about it. But one real quick thing, 8.5. Keep that number in mind. I think 8.5 for a team that won 14 games last year is a little low, but they may not have that many expectations because of who the quarterback is. We'll take a look at the roster here a little bit later and see and tell you why the number is 8.5. But before we do all that, let's see what they did last year. I want to talk to the aficionados. Pat, Coach, talk to me about the Vikings and what you guys seen out there last year and what they can do to hopefully get to a Super Bowl. I would have to think that's the expectations with a team that won 14 games, but talk to me.
Yeah, this team's goal is to get back to the Super Bowl since the times of Fran Tarkenton. I think that's the last time they were actually in a Super Bowl. I think the organization has never won a Super Bowl, but they do have the pieces to do so. But like the host NYG said, what they're going to do at this quarterback position for them last year, Sam Darnold did very well. He did what he was asked to do, and Kevin O'Connell got him balling last year. And this team, they were dominant last year, man. You know, Brian Flores had that defense playing at a level that has not been seen in a long time. The beginning of last season, throughout the season, man, that aggressive attack style defense with the aggressive attack style athletes that they have out there. Shout out Van Grinkle. Man, that dude is crazy, man. But man, he makes plays, man, and I'm glad that an athlete like him actually got his time to shine in a defense like Brian Flores, who knows how to use his abilities. But last year, 14-3, dominant throughout the regular season, and then Sam Darnold turned into a pumpkin in that playoff game, and it hurt them tremendously. But they got all their pieces pretty much back that I think, but we're going to get into that a little later. But the Vikings were dominant last year. That's really all you can say. That horn was rolling. Jay Jettis was doing the gritty, and everybody was balling out for them last year. But, Coach, talk to them about what they did last year and why they were so dominant.
Well, last year, in terms of, their rankings, overall, their point total was number 9. Their yards was at number 12. The pass yards was at number 6. Passing touchdowns was 5th, so it speaks to their passing game explosion. Interceptions, they were 16th, so they're middle of the pack. Rush yards, they were at 19th. Rushing touchdowns, they are 29th, so they really don't have that explosive of a rushing game. Defensively, they were ranked 5th in points scored. Total yards, they were 16th. Pass yards, they were 28th. Touchdowns, they were 12th. Interceptions, they were number 1. Rush yards, they were number 2. And rushing touchdowns, they were number 7. So they do a good job in controlling the line of scrimmage and making you one-dimensional for the most part. Now, the player who I think last year was most impactful, need I say more? Justin Jefferson. I mean, he played in 17 games, started 17 games. He had 154 targets. Receiving, he caught 103 yards, 1,533 yards, 10 touchdowns, and he averaged 14.9 yards per reception. So you see what type of player and why he's considered one of the top receivers in the NFL. So with that, turn it back over to NYG. Go ahead, brother. Take the lead.
All right, man. We seen what they did last year. Let's see who they lost. Let's see who ain't gonna be there playing. And the number one guy, guy right there on the screen, talking about quarterback. That's y'all love, right? But honestly, man, Sam Darnold did have a phenomenal season last year. And he will be missed. Because as I said, you will be starting basically a rookie in a sense, someone who hasn't played yet as far as regular season games are concerned. But Sam wasn't the only player that they lost. A couple other notable names stand out there. Dalton Reisner, Garrett Bradbury, pieces on the offensive line. You also talk about a couple edge rushers, Patrick Jones II, Jahad Ward, Stephon Gilmore, Shaquille Griffin, gone. So they did lose a couple pieces here. But what's the guy that stands out to you? What's the guy that stands out to y'all out of this list as far as key losses is concerned?
Hey, I got to keep it 100. Sam Darnold, he's known to seeing ghosts, but man, he was seeing everything last year for the Vikings on at the quarterback position, and he was willing and dealing. And I do believe this is a major loss for the Minnesota Vikings, because now you have to put it to basically a rookie again, because he didn't even get, any snaps last year. He tore his ACL in camp. So is JJ McCarthy ready to lead a team that is ready to win a Super Bowl? Sam Darnold was a veteran. He paid attention in class, and he went out there and he got an A. And so you saw what happened when Sam Darnold wasn't on his game in the playoffs. They got beat, and they got beat handily. So what if JJ McCarthy is on Sam Darnold's level in the playoffs throughout the season? I think that's why you got that 8.5 out there, man. It's starting to show why they're getting that 8.5 this year, coming off 14 wins. But Sam Darnold, I can't believe I'm doing this. A quarterback is the top player of a loss for a team that was a playoff team that had Super Bowl aspirations. Yeah, Pat talk about the quarterback position, but Coach, you tell them who you have as their top loss going into the season.
Well, my top losses, it's going to be all those offensive linemen, whether they're starters or whether they're reserves. For the offense that you had last year to be an elite passing attack, that's going to be a big question mark. I mean, like NYG said, 8.5, is it because you have a young quarterback? That's another factor too. They don't have that explosive running game. So to help a young quarterback, you need to have a good running game. So I'm actually taking all those offensive linemen, because in some regards, they're all veterans. They bring something to the table. So what did the Vikings do to replace that, to at least keep them in the spectrum of winning 14, 13, or 12 games a season? So that's where I'm focused on right now. So, but over to you, NYG.
Yeah. Sam Darnold, key loss. Let's take a look at the key additions here and see who they bought in to replace some of these cats. One name that stands out to me, really could say two names: Will Fries and Ryan Kelly. They took two of the Colts offensive linemen. Give me. Take your sexy fatties from you. But seriously, man, Will Fries, I wanted the Giants to go after this guy, man. I think he's a stud offensive guard from the Colts, signed a 5-year, $88 million deal. Ryan Kelly comes over as well, 2 years, $18 million. Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave. So they getting some depth up front. As Pat mentioned, your man Van Ginkel, getting him a bag as well. Coming back on a 1-year deal, but they did add some pieces in the secondary. Harrison Smith is coming back for his 14th season. But who stands out to you guys? Which one of these players are going to have the biggest impact for the Vikings going into this season? Because, man, Vikings fans, I'm telling y'all, you are one of the top teams in the NFCs, and y'all really gotta play like it. Y'all really gotta play like it, and bringing in these guys, though, it does help. It does help. Who y'all got? Which one stands out to you?
Man, shout out to my guy Van Ginkel, man. That's one of my favorite players in the league to look at, man. That dude's just a baller. But I'm gonna talk about the person they brought in to give him some help, man. Jonathan Allen from the Washington Commanders. Thank you for taking this guy away from the NFC East and let him go over there to the North and terrorize y'all. Jonathan Allen, man, very good against the run. Very underrated pass rush and defensive tackle, and they brought Javon Hargrave over there to shore up the middle of that defense to stop people from being able to run, since their run game is not up to par. As Coach said, the sexy fatties, they went out there, they got themselves some sexy fatties, man. They poached everybody, man. Everybody's teams got their sexy fatties taken by the Minnesota Vikings this offseason. So hey, Jonathan Allen, I think he's going to do well out there with Minnesota, man. And look for him to be hitting quarterbacks just like you see right here on the screen. But, Coach, who do you think is their best addition going into this 2025 NFL season?
Well, for me, the best addition, there it is. Cranford, New Jersey's own Will Fries. He's the type of a guard who's physically opposing, strong, solidifies any interior of an offensive line. So, and you're bringing over his running mate too, in Kelly. So he will help not only in the passing game, but in the run game. So he's that type of a player that can be forceful and help you, especially when you have a young quarterback. You need to keep his face clear. And Fries does that very well. So he's the one that I think is the most impactful for the Minnesota Vikings. So there you go. Back to my brother NYG.
I'm with you. I'm right there with you. Will Fries, like I said, one of them on the Giants. But let's see what young players they add. It's a young man's game. Let's take a look at these draft picks. They did not have many. While they was able to hoard the offensive linemen, they obviously ain't hoarding draft picks. They skimping on that end. But they did get some pretty decent guys. Donovan Jackson, definitely like him out of Ohio State. He was somebody that I scouted. Ty Felton, got to talk to him at the Senior Bowl. Excellent interview. Go check that out on the Aboriginal Sports Network, of course. And that tight end from Pittsburgh, Gavin Bartholomew, I think he's might be a little bit of a steal there. But out of these 5 picks, who y'all got? Which one is y'all's favorite, man? Talk to me, man. Pat, Coach.
Yeah, Donovan Jackson, man. Gotta steal my coach's flow, man, with the sexy fatties, man. Donovan Jackson is the most impactful person that we actually see from that list, man. That list is very short and very minuscule, but Donovan Jackson, man, bringing this kid in, man, allowing him to get in there with the other sexy fatties on the offensive line, letting him learn and block up for JJ McCarthy, because I think they're going to have to give him a lot of time to get the ball to people like Justin Jefferson and Addison. And I don't care who you are at quarterback. If you have time and you got Justin Jefferson on the field, you should be able to get the ball to that monster, because he's probably one of the most unstoppable forces at the receiver position in the NFL. So Donovan Jackson coming in, blocking, shoring up that offensive line. Hopefully he doesn't have to get in there and be one of the best offensive linemen for him this year, but he's definitely going to start here soon, and to allow Aaron Jones to get that running game going for the Vikings. And if they got a run game going, that passing game is going. But Coach, who you got, bro?
Well, you did steal my thunder with Jackson, big boy, Ohio State guy, blocking for a Michigan guy. So that's an interesting one. So, but NYG talked about a Felton being a Rutgers Scarlet Knight fan, him being from Maryland. He definitely did put some work onto my Scarlet Knights on occasion, and we have some DBs over there, so we do play defense over in Scarlet Nation. So he's the type of receiver, he's going to learn from the guys who are already there, and he's just going to help their passing game that much more, become that much more explosive. So it allows him as a young receiver to come in, learn, develop, and then somewhere down the line, he's going to be that type of a player that really people are going to talk about going forward. So, watch out for him. So I definitely like that pick for Minnesota. So, but that's pretty much going to be it in terms of, there you go, Pat interviewing Ty at the Senior Bowl. So, he's definitely one of those players that I definitely like. So, but there you go. That's my thought. Back to you, NYG.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that, Coach. Yeah, Ty Felton, man. Shout out to Ty Felton. Shout out to Donovan Jackson. And shout out to the Senior Bowl, man. We had fun down there. Can't wait to get back. But let's look at the Minnesota Vikings roster, because this is going to be the telltale of it all here. And let's see if they can let's see how much they have improved or didn't improve, if I may ask. Coach, you talked about Donovan Jackson. He could be a starter according to this depth chart. Again, this is unofficial, folks. So, but of course, they got Addison, they got Jefferson. You throw in Ty Felton in there, who I think is going to be pretty good as well. Sign Rondell Moore from Atlanta. But that offensive line is going to be key. It's going to be real key, because you bringing in 3 new starters on the offensive line. Now, I like the pieces that they got, but they are 3 new starters, and they are in the interior. Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries. Brian O'Neill and Darrisaw, I'm not worried about. TJ Hawkinson is solid at the tight end position. A lot is going to fall on JJ McCarthy. They got Sam Howell backing him up. Defensive-wise, though, I don't got a whole lot of complaints. Because I know that man, what's my man's name from? Brian Flores. I don't know why I'm getting like Belichick, mixing the wrong Brian Dable and Brian Flores. I'm trying to think of the right Brian, so I don't make a mistake like Bill Belichick made that mistake. But anyway, I'm gonna put my guys back at their respectable size of the football. Pat, you talk about the offense. Coach, you go on defense, man. And let's break down the Minnesota roster here.
All right, so I'm back in my original position, going against the coach, getting my offensive scheme ready for his defense. But we're going to talk about this Minnesota Vikings offense, man. Hey, listen, you got Justin Jefferson, Addison, and Jalen Naylor, who is underrated. I think he is a very good receiver. And then you got Ty Felton to back them up. Shout out to him. Talk to him at the Senior Bowl. I'm not worried about the receiver position. They are stacked. The offensive line, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not worried about the offensive line. You got Brian O'Neill, who's very good. Will Fries, very good. You got Ryan Kelly to play the center, who's played with Will Fries. So he's not going to have anybody out there that he can't get along with as far as knowing exactly what the calls and everything, because he already played with Ryan Kelly over there with the Colts. Donovan Jackson, very good draft pick. I think he's going to be very good. At Christian Darrisaw, you know what time it is with him. Then you got TJ Hawkinson at the tight end position. Aaron Jones at the running back position. CJ Ham at the fullback. The only thing I'm worried about, and I'm worried about him, is JJ McCarthy. That's the only thing that can hold this offense back if he's not making the correct reads with the time that this offensive line will get him. And then you got Bow, whatever you want to call him, the turnover machine. He will go in there and he will create some turnovers. But I do believe this offense will be good and they will be okay. So, Coach, talk to him about the defense, man. You think this defense can help this offense out this season?
I mean, they have the talent. I mean, when you think about Allen, Phillips, Hargrave right there, man, that's tough right there. And then when you add in Grignard and Van Ginkel, as your edge rushers, and then Blake Cashman and Ivan Pace, man, those are you keep them free, they can free flow and make a play. So I'd like their front seven. They do have some talent there. Tyron Ingram, Dawkins, the draft pick, being brought in. Richter, from what I remember, is a decent linebacker. You have Kobe King. Look, Kobe King played at Penn State, and he played well along with who the Giants drafted, one of the best linebackers. And King is a good linebacker. You have Dallas Turner as a cornerback. As a backup to Van Ginkel. When you look at the cornerbacks for Minnesota, Rodgers, Okay, Okuda can be good. Harrison Smith, what can you say? One of the best safeties that is out there. Metellus Joshua, Byron Murphy is also a good nickel corner. So they do have some talent there. They can play. So everything right now. When you look at their starting units and some of their depth, everything is going to fall on, just like Pat and NYG just said. It's going to be about JJ McCarthy, man. His development and what he has learned from a year sitting and not being out there physically playing. So, this defense, they look like they can handle their business. So, but back to you, NYG.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think I feel good about everything here. Two things, JJ, we talked about, and do they have enough depth? They look a little top heavy, to be honest with you, in some positions. Because think about, I don't know, some of these backups are can really step in on the offensive line if you have an injury there. And then we talking about the quarterback position, Sam Howell. TJ Hawkinson goes down. They got Josh Oliver. I mean, looking at the defense, is do they have enough depth there? As far as the edge is concerned, the edge rushers and the linebackers. I think they'll be fine, but let's see if they can get to this 8.5. That is going to be the question as we take a look at the schedule here, y'all. Y'all know how we do. This is the 7th ranked schedule in the league, but I think the Vikings, they aren't going to catch any breaks, and they ain't going to be nobody, threatened by JJ McCarthy, especially some of the teams you got on your schedule. I mean, Chicago, Atlanta, yeah. Cincinnati, yeah. Pittsburgh, Cleveland. But then it gets a little tougher from there. Philly, the Chargers, Detroit, Baltimore, Chicago, Green Bay, Seattle, Washington, Dallas. Holy moly. That's pretty rough right there, of a stretch. Then you get the Giants, and then you finish up in your division. But 8.5, man. 8.5. I don't know. I don't know if I'm sold on JJ McCarthy, y'all. I don't know about. I like the talent. We see the roster. We know Kevin O'Connell is a good coach. Brian Flores is a good coach. They have good coaching. But man, that JJ McCarthy and this schedule makes me a tad bit nervous about that 8.5. What's your guys' thoughts? Over, under? What we doing?
I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Week 1, Chicago. I give them a win. Atlanta, loss. Cincinnati, loss. Pittsburgh, loss. Cleveland, hard-fought victory. Philly, washed. Chargers, washed. Detroit, washed. Baltimore, washed. They'll beat the Bears. They'll beat the Packers. They'll beat Seattle. Washington, I think they'll get them. I think they'll get Dallas. They'll get us in New York. Detroit, washed. Green Bay, it's a toss-up to see who can win and get into the playoffs. I'm going to be honest with you, fellas.
Right there.
I'm going to be honest with you, fellas. I'm going to go under. I got them at 8 games. And it's 8.5, correct?
Yeah.
So I have to go under. They're going to have a tough time this season. I think they're going to go through a series of losses. And I think they're going to go through a series of wins towards the middle and the end of the season when J.J. McCarthy gets a little bit more comfortable. But I washed under. Yeah, under.
Coach, what you got over under?
Pat, I have to disagree with you with that start. I mean, I think they have a good chance of actually being 5-0 going into the bye. But
Really?
it's after the bye that, because again, I've said it before, I don't trust Atlanta, Cincinnati. You guys know that. Chicago division game is going to be tough, but I think they have a good chance of winning that game. Pittsburgh is going to be tough, but it's at home. Actually, that's overseas.
Yeah,
it's at 9:30. So
yeah. Those two, both they got back-to-back games overseas. On this schedule right here.
Yeah. I mean, Pittsburgh will be tough, but that's even more reason why I think that, you know what? Yeah, I think they can go 5-0. But after the bye, Pittsburgh, no. LA, the Chargers, in LA, no. Detroit, no. Baltimore, no. They're not going to win that. So how are they feeling going into that Chicago game? Because are they beat up? That could change everything. But I'm going to say they're going to sweep Chicago. The Green Bay game, no, I don't think they're going to win that one. Seattle, going into Seattle, that's a toss-up. I'm not going to give them that game. Washington, I can't give them that game. Washington, I think it will be a better team. I think Washington will be the better team. So, but then again, you got Hargrave. So how is he going to play, especially in the run defense? Is he going to make them one-dimensional? Matter of fact, we don't even know what's up with McLaurin, right now. So you know what? I will give them that game. Dallas, I'll give them. New York, I'll give them. The last two, I'm not giving them. I'm not giving them those last two. So that's 1, 2.
You got them at.
I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have them at 8 and 9. So I got to go under.
You go disagree with me and give them the same record?
But you said from the get, you said they're going to lose to Atlanta and Cincinnati. That's why I'm disagreeing with you. Because I can't. Not those two teams. Not those two teams.
So they washed. They just a different type wash.
Yeah,
but they washed.
Yeah. They washed either way.
They're washed, but to start the season, I mean, plus Atlanta and Cincinnati are in Minnesota. So that's why I'm like, and I just have no faith in Atlanta and Cincinnati. Y'all know that.
Yeah. Here's the problem I have with this schedule, and I'm with you guys. I'm going under for a different reason. They got 2 home games that are overseas that you don't get that dome.
That's a fact.
And those 2 games right there against NFC North teams, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, you can get rough. It could get you may start to see some injuries pile up with this team. Now they do get the bye after that. That's why I asked you guys about depth. I don't know if they have enough of it. And to be honest, I don't know if they have enough in the tank to get to 9 wins with this schedule. What I just said, with everything you guys said, under, down under. But all jokes aside, this is a solid team. It could go either way. I could see them winning 10 games. I could see them having like a 7-8 win season.
That's what's
So
up.
it just depends on how things shake and how good J.J. McCarthy looks. A lot of these teams we previewing in this division so far, a lot of it's dependent upon quarterback play and particularly with the Lions. I mean, the Vikings is depth. Now the Lions, I'm talking about depth at the quarterback position for them. I'm a little worried if something happened to Jared Goff, but this right here, this Vikings team, J.J. McCarthy. Then you got Sam Howell. I'm very concerned with the quarterback position with the Vikings, and That's why I got to go under. But that being said, we got to go to the next team. And that's the Packers, man. Pack them up. Shout out to Leaf Diggy, man. Our resident Packers fan. I'm sure he's going to love what we have to say about his team. But we're going to do that. And we'll be right back. Let's get it. All right, we are back with the pack, and last year didn't go so well for the Pack in the playoffs as they were eliminated 22-10 by the Eagles in that game. Of course, Jordan Love not getting no love by that Eagles defense, man. Picked them off 3 times, and this is the thing with the Packers. This is the thing with the Packers. Jordan Love taking over for Aaron Rodgers, and he's still got a lot of questions around Jordan Love and this Packers team in a loaded NFC North. But 11-6 last year, they got him at 9.5 this year, so they expect him to be right there again in the playoffs or in the playoff hunt at least. But talk to me about last year in this Packers team. Talk about, guys, just kind of lay out what's your feelings about this team. Coach, I know you're going to break down the stats, but talk about last year and what went wrong for the Packers in that playoff game against it, because this is a team that has the expectations to win their division. Of course, you got the Lions and Vikings and Bears, of course, too. But the Packers, I would imagine their expectation is to win a division. So last year, y'all looked like pretenders more than contenders. Y'all talk about what went down on the field, for the Packers last year, and why they need to make some improvements as we get into this preview.
All right, we're going to talk about Go Pack Go. The Green Bay Packers last year went 11-6, man. They had a pretty up and down season, and the reason why they had an up and down season is because their quarterback was up and down. Sometimes Jordan Love looked like an absolute world beater, like he was one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And then, like, when you got into the playoffs, he threw those 3 interceptions to the Eagles. He looked like a guy that was, trying to find his way in the league. I think this Packers team went as Jordan Love went, man. When he was getting the ball to, Jaden Reed, he was getting the ball to Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and Torben at the tight end position. They were doing well. And don't forget about Josh Jacobs last year. He was a driving force for them with the run game. So when their run game was going and they took the ball out of Jordan Love's hands, they actually were a pretty doggone team to be reckoned with. So it's got to be kind of crazy. Everybody, Pat, you don't like the quarterback and all that. What I'm telling you, the less Jordan Love has to do, the better this Packers team is. And that's the way it went. When Jordan Love didn't have to be the superhero last year, they were good. When he was, they were bad. So, Coach, talk to them about what they did last season.
Well, last season, the stats basically show that, in terms of their ranks, points-wise, they were, in point score, they were 8th, yards, they were 5th, pass yards, they were 12th, pass touchdowns, they were 10th, interceptions, they were 11th, and rush yards, they were 5th, as well as their touchdowns. So that talks about an efficient type of an offense, really, when you really think about it. If you want to talk about, quarterback play, 11 interceptions, yes, when are those interceptions thrown also are a key factor. So, that goes into play in terms of what this offense is overall. If you look at their defense, they were 6th. Yards, they were 5th. Pass yards, they were 17th, so they were towards the back end. Pass touchdowns, though, they were 9th. Interceptions, they were 3rd. So they were They were making plays on the ball. Rush yards, they were 7th, and rush 10 yards, they were 10th. So they had the opportune times defensively to make plays on the ball, but also stop the opposition from scoring, as well as putting your offense in prime position to make a play, going forward. So, and then one of the most impactful players, overall. Hey, you guys talked about it. Jordan Love. I mean, he completed 268 passes in 425 attempts for a 63.1%. Threw for over 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns. Again, I spoke about the interceptions. It's up and down. It's up and down. He has the skills, but he has to be very efficient and cut back on those. If he can cut back into single digits in interceptions, it can go a long way for the Packers, going forward. So that's who I have as, an impactful player from last year. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, NYG.
Yeah, Jordan Love. Let's see what he does this year. But we got to talk about who won't be packing them in Green Bay anymore, or who's packing their way up out of there, I should say. And that's AJ Dillon and Andre Dillard. Two similar names there. But then you got Josh Myers from the Jets. So we talk about it a lot. Offensive linemen, you don't like to see offensive linemen, or you don't like to lose offensive linemen on your team. But Jair Alexander, man, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. Now a Baltimore Raven. Yeah, man, he was a staple in that secondary. It was one of the reasons why a lot of people don't worry about the Packers defense. See, when you hear Green Bay, you hear quarterback, you hear Favre, you hear Rodgers, you automatically think offense. They've had some good offenses over there in Green Bay. But this Packers team, yeah, they've been solid defensively too. Coach read off some of the stats. So Jair Alexander, man, it's a big loss in my unpopular opinion. But what about y'all's? Who do y'all got as one of the key losses here?
My brother NYG, you are absolutely correct. This man, Jair Alexander, a loss for the Packers is a huge loss, man. He's one of the top upper echelon cornerbacks in the league, man. He did everything. He guarded the number one receiver. He went into the slot. He blitzed. He made tackles. He got them turnovers. He was a captain. He was a leader. He was a lot for this Packers team, but guess he wasn't good enough to pay. And so they traded him over there to the Baltimore Ravens. And I think the Ravens got a heck of a cornerback with Jair Alexander. They're going to miss this guy. And I do believe it will hurt their secondary, even though they got that man from our team, the New York Giants, Xavier McKinney back there making all types of plays. Was a defensive player of the year candidate. So hopefully, he keeps on that trajectory for the Packers. But the loss of Jair Alexander is very, very, very tough. But Coach, talk to him, man. Who's one of their biggest losses?
For me, it's actually going to be in the running backfield. One, because he's going to one of our arch nemesis, so we have to deal with him twice a year. But it's AJ Dillon. He's the type of back, really, when it gets cold, playing in Green Bay is the perfect type of atmosphere for him. He can run that rock, and he can be a big body, and he's complementary, to what they're trying to do. But also, when you're talking about the quarterback, what helps a young quarterback, a developing quarterback, even veteran quarterbacks, is a sound running game. And losing a running back of Dillon's caliber, because he's a big statured running back. He's not a small little scat back. He's a big body running back. So his loss is going to really be felt as the season goes along. Especially late in the season, playing in Green Bay, Wisconsin, playing in Chicago, outdoor weather stadiums. That's where it's going to be felt, especially going forward, because it's going to take away from helping Jordan Love. Back to you, NYG.
Yeah, I'm with you. AJ Dillon on the Eagles is something that I don't like to see, or I don't want to see. But let's see who they could have bought in to replace some of these people that they lost here. Packers not doing a lot in free agency, and this is per per the course for this team. They don't make a lot of free agent moves, and they don't lose a lot of free agents either. So not a extensive list like some of the other teams we have here. But Nate Hobbs, cornerback, agreeing to a 4-year, $48 million deal. I thought that was significant there because what are we talking about? Jair Alexander. We're talking about the cornerback position as one of their key losses. So I got Nate Hobbs here as one of their key additions. But who you guys got? They signed Isaiah Simmons. There he is. Hey, Isaiah. Of course, former New York Giant. We always pick with the ex-Giant players, but McCole Hardman, that's another one, and Aaron Banks, offensive guard. That's going to be key too. But who y'all got as a key addition here for Pack?
Hey, NYG, we are on eye to eye with the Packers of this whole offseason additions and subtractions. But the addition, Nate Hobbs, he's going to have to come in and fill a pretty good role as a slot corner. He's going to have to make plays. He's going to have to be opportunistic. He's going to have to get after the quarterback. They're going to be dependent on this guy to make a lot of plays for this team after losing Jair Alexander. Is he on that caliber? No, but he can come in and be, that guy in the slot that they need, one of the better slot cornerbacks in the league. And, he could do some of those things Jair Alexander did, and they could get supplemented with some other guys on this team. But Hobbs is the best key addition that I think they did this offseason for the Packers. But, Coach, who you got as their main key addition this upcoming season?
Well, you know how I go. What more can I say when it gets to the sexy fatties? Aaron Banks is the one that I'm looking at. He's an aggressive offensive lineman, so one of the things that I noticed in watching him, he's always looking for work. So if he doesn't have anything, he goes and he finds it and he gets busy with it. He focuses, on his improved technique with his hand placement, foot mirroring, and physical strength. And last year he was credited with giving up 1 sack. So he has good high football IQ, and he's balancing both the run and in pass blocking. I mean, if you look at that picture right there, look at those arms, man. He has super long arms. I mean, that speaks volumes with an offensive lineman where you can keep defenders off of your body and you can control them. So he's the one player that I think is, definitely going to help, especially for Love, keeping his face clean. I keep talking about that. You want him to produce, keep his face clean. So, and that's one guy who can definitely help him out. So, but I'll send it back over to you, NYG.
Yeah, definitely with you on the offensive lineman, especially one that comes from the 49ers. They seem to have a pretty good offensive line year after year. But let's take a look at some of these draft picks. Let's see what they added in the draft since they didn't do a lot in free agency. They never really do. But, man, I think they hit it in the draft, though. Matthew Golden is going to be gold for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love, I should say. He's going to be gold for Jordan Love. And then one of my favorite receivers, he might be my favorite receiver coming out this year, the 3rd-round pick, Savion Williams from TCU. Player comparisons. People don't like making player comparisons, but it's like Deebo Samuel light, pretty much. Savion Williams is what you get. You can move him around, do different things with him on the field. But I'm gonna let Pat and Coach break that down. The aficionados, as I like to call them. But yeah, man, I think the Packers had some pretty good draft picks, a couple of edge rushers, Brian Sorrell and Colin Oliver, and of course, defensive tackle. So adding up front on the defensive side of the football is always a good thing, in any draft. So, but who y'all got, man? Which one of these picks stands out to you, man, going into the season for the Packers?
Man, NYG, I do believe you are a mind reader, sir. This is also my favorite player coming out, one of my favorite players coming out in the draft, and that is Mr. Savion Williams out of TCU, 6'3", 6'4", big body receiver, can play the outside and inside. Yeah, they drafted Matthew Golden, but I think they struck gold in the third round with Savion Williams, man. I think he brings an element to this offense that, like I said, takes the ball out of Jordan Love's hands, doesn't make him have to do everything out there. Hand the ball off to this monster, let him run the wildcat, let him run reverses, let him get the screens, let him run deep, let him go over the middle, catch the ball, let him run over people. Just let this dude do what he does. And that's just make plays and get the ball and move the chains, man. Savion Williams, love this pick for the Packers, man. I think this guy's going to be a heck of a player for them. You're going to see him a lot, man. But, Coach, let's get it to you since the mind reader wants to take all my shine with the Packers today. Coach, talk.
Well, the player that I really like for them is actually offensive tackle Anthony Belton. There's something about NC State with offensive linemen that I don't know. They seem to do a fairly well job. Quano, extending guys to the NFL. Yes, they need to be developed, but he's the type of offensive lineman that can, with the proper development, continued development, I think he can definitely be a sneaky good lineman. And Green Bay does well with offensive linemen also, especially tackles. So, he's the one that I really did like, watching and seeing what he's able to do. So that's the one I definitely, the draft pick that I definitely like. So, but NYG, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you, Coach. I'm with you. Offensive lineman, I mean, you can't go wrong. Like I said, the Packers did solid because they got some Jordan Love some help, and they, added to their defense. But let's take a look at the team overall as we are going to do what we do and break down this depth chart. What stands out to me here for Green Bay is they have a ton of receiving options. Dobbs, Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Savion Williams, Christian Watson, and they got McCole Hardman. Tucker Kraft and Luce Musgrave are pretty decent tight end duo. Of course, you still got Josh Jacobs in the backfield. Jordan Love with Malik Willis, my man Malik Willis. Everybody hated on him, but the kid has actually got to Green Bay and showed some promise, improvement, great improvement. So, defensively, like I said, very, very underrated defense. Very, very underrated defense, man. Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, they can get after the passer for sure. You got McKinney in the backfield. And Luke Van Ness, man, pretty good edge rusher himself. But let's go to our NFL aficionados. Big Pat, Coach Ed. I'm going to give you guys one side of the football. Y'all talk about it, break it down. But this one, I'm going to let Pat handle the offense, Coach handle the defense. Let's get it.
So we're gonna be talking about this offense first over here with the Green Bay Packers, and I think they got a lot to offer as far as a team, man. And like I said, long as they don't make Jordan Love have to be the superhero, not saying that he is a bad quarterback. I'm saying he's a guy that if you try to make him be the superhero, he's going to try to do superhero things, and he's going to turn the ball over. That's just what he does. But man, that receiving core, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Romeo Dobbs, Savion Williams, Christian Watson, Tavion Wicks, Malik Heath, man, these dudes, McCole Hardman, man, Bo Melton, they all the way back to the back of the roster. Somebody's going to get a good receiver from the Packers. Somebody is. Then you got Josh Jacobs at the running back position. Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, two very good options at the tight end position as far as receivers. Now you go to the offensive line. You got Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks from San Francisco, Ashton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, Zach Tom, who just got paid. I believe their offensive line is decent, but that middle of that offensive line can give up some stuff. And that's what hurt Jordan Love last year when he gets pressure in his face because of his arm talent. He think he could put it in spots that's not supposed to be out there on the field, and they can turn the ball over. And I think that's really the only thing that will slow this offense down, and that is turnovers. But coach, what about that defense, man? I think the offense is pretty doggone good.
Yeah, you're right, Pat. That offense is good, but so is their defense, man. I mean, when you think about it, when you look at it, that front four with Gary, Clark, Wyatt, and Van Ness, man, they can get after it and they can cause havoc. And then Edrin Cooper and Quay Walker at the linebacker. I mean, McDuff behind them, Hopper. I mean, Isaiah Simmons just coming over right there is at the third level. So that's telling you, and I'm not saying he's the greatest, but he can play. So that's telling you how good their second level is. And then with the backups on to the front line, they have some guys who can definitely come in and help out and be a steady force. And then when you go to the secondary with Nate Hobbs just coming over there, McKinney from the Giants, man, that hurts. Evan Williams, Nixon, Ballard, you just drafted Micah Robinson, Kalen King. These guys are definitely going to be ball players. Here's another little cherry on the top, too, that most people haven't been talking about. Bo Melton was also working with the defensive backs. He can play defensive back. Don't forget his brother is over in Arizona. And I can tell you from experience from watching them, not just because they're from Rutgers, their family is very athletic. Father played at Rutgers, was highly sought of as a receiver. Mom played basketball at Rutgers. They have it in their genes. So, don't be surprised if you see Bo Melton over there doing a little bit of the Troy Brown playing both sides of the ball, so I'm just saying. So he has the talent. So there you go. So, but I definitely like the defense, especially the starting group. So Stats already talked about, how they are one of the top defenses in the league. So they give the offense the ball in the right position, stop the opposition from going down the field. Hey, it's going to fall on Jordan Love. You got to lead this team. I'm just saying. But I'm going to send it over to the unpopular one, the man, the legend, NYG.
Appreciate that, my brother, my good brother. But here's one thing key for the Packers, and we haven't talked about this yet, at least with this division. Matt LaFleur versus LaFleur versus versus Kevin O'Connell and Dan Campbell. I'll leave Ben Johnson out of this for now because he's a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
Where's that edge at, man? Where's that edge at? Because I'm seeing these teams are. I mean, I think obviously Detroit has the overall better roster, but see it could go like these teams could really, if things shake out with JJ McCarthy and then they could be, you know, and then here we are with the Packers. So I have to ask you guys, who has the coaching edge in this division, man, before we get on it and move on to the Bears?
I actually got a pretty unique answer for you. And that's the Vikings with Kevin O'Connell because of Brian Flores. Remember, Dan Campbell lost his soldiers. He lost Aaron Glenn and he lost Ben Johnson. Matt LaFleur, he's pretty much the head of the show over there. And since he's the head of the show over there, I give the Lions the edge with Dan Campbell because I think he's a better leader of men. But when it comes to balance, I think the Vikings actually have that edge because they have that offensive guru and a defensive guru. So if those guys go out there and perform the way they're supposed to perform, I actually give the Vikings the edge. And the only reason why I would give Detroit the overall edge as far as the team is because of the talent. The talent outweighs Minnesota's. Detroit's talent outweighs Minnesota's talent, and Dan Campbell puts them over the edge over Minnesota. But if everything was equal, Minnesota has that edge, man, because they got both sides of the ball. It's all about balance. Life is about balance, and they got a tremendous balance over there. So if that balance works out over there, they can beat you up on the offensive side of the ball and stop you from scoring. So that it could be a problem over there if Minnesota has their act together with JJ McCarthy. And there's another reason why you see that division is so crazy.
Yeah.
But
what
ahead,
about
Coach.
you, Coach? Yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Quick question before we move on to the schedule. I just had to throw that in there because we haven't talked about it a lot.
Dan Campbell, you're going to see if he is really one of the top coaches, because if he gets this team truly to go far in the playoffs for this division, it is him. You know, and that's really, yes, he lost his two lieutenants right there, or captains, however you want to categorize it. He lost them. So right now, it's going to show, can he elevate the other new coordinators behind him, as well as get this team to continue on? You could say they have talent, but they haven't been producing when the money is put on the table. So right now, I would have to say it's him, because he has the opportunity to go forward, especially with this talent. But he has to get out of this first round. But Pat, you made a good argument, you know, for Minnesota. So, you know,
and nobody took LaFleur. So again, that could be a bit of a hindrance for this Green Bay Packers team. You know what I'm saying? So because and the reason I laid that out for you guys is because when we look at this schedule, they also have a tough schedule. You know, because the reason that the schedule is tough is because this whole division is going to have a tough schedule because they're playing the NFC East and they're playing the AFC North. So again, you know, you got 4 playoff teams from those two divisions and 2 other fringe playoff teams, and then you get the Giants and Browns, but whatever. But it's going to be tough, so that's why I'm asking. It's going to be really a battle within the division for the Packers and this whole division right here. You know, I think these teams are going to beat each other up. That being said, 9.5. Let's talk about it. 9.5 for Green Bay. Now, remember, Minnesota got 8.5. They giving Green Bay 9.5. We seen it. We seen everything. We laid it all out for y'all. Can this Green Bay Packers team win 10 games? Because that's what you have to win to go over 9.5. I'm looking at this schedule. I got my doubts, bro. I'm not gonna hold you. I got my doubts. You starting off with Detroit and Washington ain't too good. Say what you want about Cleveland and Dallas, but you on the road at those games. And geez, man, you got to stretch right here. After you play, you got Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago, Denver, Chicago, Baltimore, Minnesota. That's rough right there. That last, 10, 11 week stretch. But talk to me, over or under 9.5 for the Packers?
Yeah, this was tough right here, man. This one is tough. Because that division game with Detroit, I don't know what's going to happen in that game. I'm going to get the edge to Detroit just based off roster. Washington, you don't know what you're going to get with Washington, especially if Terry McLaurin gets his money. That makes them even more dangerous, and I think Washington gets them too. Cleveland, y'all going to laugh. But if that Cleveland defense shows up, the Packers going to have problems with them.
I'm telling you.
If that Cleveland defense shows up, and Dallas is no pushover. I do believe they could beat Dallas, but if you get a shootout with Dallas and Dallas gets one of those opportunistic turnovers, you can lose to them too. The Bengals, same thing. Only reason why I get them edge over the Bengals is because I think the Bengals defense is just going to be totally trash. But their offense could definitely torch the Packers defense. Arizona, same thing. Is one of those teams that's going to play you tough. Are you going to limit the mistakes and beat them? And you're going to Arizona. Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers coming back home. Well, you're actually going to Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh, you playing against Aaron Rodgers, he's going to have some motivation there. Carolina, I give them the edge. Philadelphia, they play Philadelphia well, but I just think they don't have enough to stop them. The Giants, I'll give them the victory over the Giants. Minnesota, that's going to be tough. Detroit's going to be tough. Chicago's going to be tough. Denver's going to be tough. Chicago's going to be tough. Baltimore tough. Minnesota, man, that is a brutal stretch of games right there. I'm sorry, man. I got them around 8 to 9 wins, and if they get the 9 wins, they're under. I gotta say washed. Yeah, I gotta say washed. They're gonna be washed. I don't think they make it to 10 wins this year, man. Coach, what you think, man?
I'm gonna make it real simple. It's going to come down to that last game with Minnesota for them to either be 9 or 10 wins. Simple as that. We can talk about everything else. It's coming down to that last game. That's all it is. They're going to be in position. They're going to have 9 wins at that point in time. Or it's going to push them. Is it going to push them over to 10 wins in the win column, or 10 wins? No, wait a minute. They're going to have 9 wins at that point in time. So that last one's going to make it either 9-8 or 10-7. Sorry, that's what I mixed up on. So that's where it lies. It's just that Minnesota game. So
what you got? You got over, under? What you thinking?
Yeah, this one tough, Coach.
Based on the breakdown previously of Minnesota, I think they're going to be at 9 wins. Minnesota will be at 8, and they'll be at 9 wins.
I'm with you, Coach. I got the under here. Unpopular opinion. Here's the trap game for the Packers on this schedule. Week 11 at the New York Giants. For some reason, the Giants give them hell.
They do. For some reason, they do.
Again, you can pick up the damn pass and run it for a touchdown. Damn it!
I'm not gonna hold you. For some reason, it'd be a problem when the Packers, you know what I'm saying, play the Giants. So, but yeah, that's what Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota always watch the Giants. But the Packers. They might go.
They always leave us an opportunity to get them or something.
They might go 1-3 or 0-4 in the NFC East. Now I got them under, just based on that alone.
Yeah, if they go 1-4 in the NFC East, they're going under. I mean,
because I don't think they beat in Philadelphia. I don't think they beat in Washington. Dallas game's a toss up, and like I said, the Giants. I think that's a trap game for them. And you get the Giants right after you play Philadelphia, and the next game is your division rivals, Minnesota. That's the definition of a trap game for them.
Under. That's a fact. Good point.
But We ain't done yet. We ain't under. We still over. And we still got more to come. And we're going to come right back with our final team of this division, and that is the Chicago Bears.
Bears.
Bears. Be right back. All right. We are back with our last team to cover for the NFC North, and that is the Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
Yeah, the Bears. 5-12 last year. I got them at 8.5. Whoa, high expectations, and at least by BetMGM standards for the Bears, with the second hardest schedule. I'm intrigued here. I'm intrigued to see what other people are seeing, because a lot's going to be on that young man on the screen, Mr. Caleb Williams, and his new head coach, Ben Johnson, as you see him up there. Chicago, man, they did do a lot going into this season, but we got to take a look at what they did last year before we get into that. And I'm going to bring in Coach and Pat here in just a second, but to me, it seems like the Bears needed more from Caleb Williams. It seems like they needed more because they got a lot of talent, as we will see. We'll get into it. And they had a lot of talent last year as well. Just feel like they need a little more. Now, the coach took the axe. I can't think of the guy's name right now, but
Eberflus.
Eberflus.
Mm-hmm.
He got fired, and they bring in Ben Johnson. But was it really all his fault? So that's kind of the way I'm looking at the Bears right now. Was it really all his fault? And is Ben Johnson the upgrade that they needed to get the most out of their number one overall pick from a year ago, Mr. Caleb Williams? But fellas, y'all talk to me about what you guys seen out there from the Chicago Bears last year.
Yeah. Chicago Bears, man, they started off hot because they didn't play hardly anybody in the beginning of the season. And when they got to the meat of their schedule, they saw exactly what I said Caleb Williams was coming out of USC. I don't believe that he's a leader. He's a talent. Don't get it twisted. He's a talent, but I don't believe he's a leader of men. You see what I'm saying? And then the defense started to get some injuries. They started to break down. And Caleb Williams started to break down a little bit for them, and they started losing games. They lost the game to the Commanders on a Hail Mary, and that really just put them in a snowball effect and made them, only have 5 victories last year. But they are a talented team. I believe they have a talented GM. I believe that GM knows what he's doing, and he's getting the people and putting the pieces on that team to be successful. But it's going to come down to your all-world number one pick in Caleb Williams. When things get tough, is he going to pout? Is he going to, sit down, hold his head down? Is he going to neglect his teammates? Is he going to shut everybody out? Or is he going to go out there on that field and lead and put people in place in order to, be successful and be the team that the Bears want to be, which is a playoff team? But we're going to hear about what happened with the Bears last year as far as what they did statistically with Coach. But I just think this team will underachieve as long as Caleb Williams doesn't develop into that leader they need him to be.
Well, as you guys can see by the numbers, the rankings, their points, they were at 28th. Yards, dead last. Pass yards, speaking on the quarterback, 31st. Pass touchdowns, 21st. Interceptions, 6. Okay. Rush yards, 25th. Touchdowns, 20th. The defense, now staying focused on that just speaks volumes to your offense. Some of it is the philosophy, some of it is the talent. As a quarterback, when your pass yards are 31st and you're the number one overall draft pick, it's easy for fans to sit here and say you are the problem. Now, defensively, their points scored, they were 13, so they're a little bit above the middle of the pack, almost pushing into the top 10, but their total yards was 27, pass yards was 16, touchdowns was number 1. Pass interceptions is 19th, rush yards is 28, and rush touchdowns is 21st. So, number 1, I will say this: they're not letting teams throw the ball into the touchdown, into the end zone, but they are rushing it in. 24, you are on the bottom spectrum, so that's probably why it's a little skewed. But that's just an old coach, trying to give you a little bit of knowledge. So right now I'm going to turn it over to my brothers, NYG and Big Pat Sports Talk. Y'all take the helm, fellas.
Thanks, Coach, man. Let's see what the Bears will be missing going into 2025 NFL season. Not too far away, man. I'm getting excited, man. But name jumps out to me, man. You see it right there on the screen, man. This is my pick, man, for key losses here, and that's Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, of course, should be a future Hall of Famer when it's all said and done, man. This guy's been doing it well his entire career. He was pretty good last year for Chicago too. Of course, coming over from the Chargers. Now, Coach is going to get into, what Coach is going to get into, but when you're talking about a rookie quarterback and you're saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those sexy fatties not there anymore, raising some eyebrows, but it's not like the Bears, they can only go up. You see what I'm saying? 5-12. So they had to have some type of turnover. What type of team are they building? I don't know. We'll get into the depth chart later. But who do y'all got as a key loss up here? Taking a look at this list. It's an extensive list, too.
I actually got Mr. Keenan Allen, man. Been reading my mind all day, NYG. Keenan Allen is a huge loss for the Chicago Bears. I just think because of his, his savvy and the way that he performed on the field when they actually got him the ball, he still showed that he's a productive receiver. And can they replace what Keenan Allen did last year for them as far as being a pass catcher in the middle of the field, being that guy that can run those routes to get open to where Caleb Williams had easy throws to the outside. And he was a major red zone threat for him last year, too. So this can turn out to be a huge loss for the Chicago Bears if they can't replace that productivity in the red zone that he brought them and moving the chains. And he's a leader, man. Keenan Allen wants to win. He gets everybody energized, and he was teaching those young guys how to run those routes like Romo Dunze. But he's no longer there, so he's no longer doing it well in Chicago. Maybe he comes to Brooklyn and start doing it well like LL himself. He's mentioned to the Giants. But, hey, Coach, talk to him, man. Major losses for the Chicago Bears.
Trench warfare. What more can I say? Bring up that list again. Yeah, here we go. We can talk about Tevin Jenkins. Borum, Caltham, all of them. That literally could be a starting 5. So, but when you think about your guards and Jenkins and Pryor, whether they're starters or backup, that's right in the quarterback's face. I keep saying this. That's right in the quarterback's face. So that to me is a big factor. So Tevin Jenkins was always somebody who I always thought, was fairly decent. So he's the one that I think, for the most part. So even though it's all the offensive linemen. So, but back to you, my brothers.
Yeah, I knew you was going to go to the offensive line, and I agree with you. When you, again, young quarterback, you need a solid offensive line, but it's not like the Bears just laid down and did nothing. Like Pat mentioned, I do think Ryan Poles is a very good GM. They are building a pretty good team over there. Well, they are building a talented team. We have yet to see whether they're going to be good or not. But Jonah Jackson, they got Jonah Jackson here in a trade from the Rams. Got him for a 6th-round pick. Yeah, man, that's wild. That's wild, because Jonah Jackson, man, was one of those offensive linemen, I think that was covered in free agent, if I'm not mistaken, a couple years ago. They got another offensive lineman, Joe Thuney. They got another offensive lineman, Drew Dahlman. So Ryan Poles doing his job, so to speak, and bringing in talent on the offensive line to help his young quarterback, Caleb Williams. That's what stands out to me, man. It has to be that. It has to be that because, like I said, this is about Caleb Williams. They could dance around it all they want to. This is about that kid that you took 1st overall, the number 1 quarterback in the draft last year. You took him over Jaden Daniels, and we see what Jaden Daniels is doing. You took him over Bo Nix, and we seeing what Bo Nix is doing. So Michael Penix Jr., we'll see what he comes into and does this year. But again, it's about Caleb. So the GM I see is doing his job to get him some weapons and also get him protection with the offensive line. Even though they lost some pieces, I think they did bring in some pretty good additions. But y'all take it away, man. Who y'all got as a key addition here?
All right, this is the first time NYG ain't read my mind in this whole division. Hey, Grady Jarrett for the Chicago Bears at the defensive tackle position. Known as one of the best defensive tackles in the game, was top 3. Still think he's a top 10 guy, and he's going to help out in the trenches for the Bears to stop that run because they were not allowing a bunch of pass yards. But as Coach said, a lot of people were getting a lot of rush. They were running the ball in there. Grady Jarrett helps that, man. And you are correct, man. I think Ryan Poles is doing a heck of a job adding talent to this team. But it's up to the coaching to put that talent together and make it a good team. So I got to give it over to my resident coach and let him tell you about somebody that he believes is a key addition for this Bears team. But Grady Jarrett, that's my guy, man. He kind of looks like me too. That's why I picked him. So it is what it is, man. Coach, talk to him.
When I speak about the sexy fatties, trench warfare. This is what it's about, man. Now, for those of you who know me, you might have said, but Coach, you didn't talk about Jonah Jackson. He played at Rutgers before he went to Ohio State. True. But I went with Thuney for this reason. First and foremost, he comes from a championship program. He can teach the quarterback, the other linemen, the offense, how to prepare like a champion. Now, in his career, he's played in 146 games and started at 146 games. That's hard to do for an offensive lineman. I'm telling you, that's hard to do. Look at all his accomplishments there. 16 different ones, first and second team, Associated Press second team, first team, Pro PFF second team, first team, PFW second team, first team, Sporting News first team, NFL Players Association first team, 3 Pro Bowls, as well as Super Bowl championships. That's why I went with this man. This man knows what it takes to battle in the trenches and to bring it home and win a championship. So if he was on the Giants, I'd be ecstatic right now. Yes, I love Jonah Jackson, but this man says it more. he personifies what you need in the trenches, because he's going to go to war and he's going to bring it home. There you have it. Back to you guys.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that, man. Way to bring it home. Offensive line is key, absolutely, but so is the draft. Let's get into the draft picks for the Chicago Bears. Colston Loveland, first round pick out of Michigan. Second round pick Luther Burden the third, and then in the second round it had 3 second round picks. Went with Ozzie Trapillo, offensive tackle out of Boston College, and then with Shamar Turner, defensive tackle out of Texas A&M. And I think that right there, coupled with what they did in free agency, I mean, the Bears should be solid in the trenches. We're going to take a look at their team here in a second, but I like this draft. Colston Loveland out of Michigan, prototypical one, receiving tight end, as they say. And then you got Caleb Williams, yet another weapon in the second round with Luther Burden the third. Definitely like this kid out of Missouri. So again, I'm keep honing in that point, Chicago Bears fans. They got him some weapons. He got some. Brian Poles is doing his job. Put it like that. But I know Coach gonna shout out Cal Monungai, man. But Cal Monungai was on my top 5. Anybody that's on my top 5, I'm gonna hit you with that. He was on my top 5. So shout out to Cal Monungai. I think they got a good one still in there in the 7th round. But what's one of y'all's favorite? Who is y'all's favorite pick out of this list?
Yo, NYG, you doggone right. Coach gonna shout out Kyle Monungai. My guy Monungai from Rutgers, man. But hey, listen, gotta go with my guy from Michigan, man. Sorry, Coach. Colston Loveland, tight end from the Michigan Wolverines, man. He adds so much to this team. He allows Caleb Williams to be protected in the single back big formation. If you don't know what that is, you can have 2 tight ends out there, and it's like having 3 receivers. If you got Romo Duze, DJ Moore, to Colston Loveland with Cole Kmet, so you still have 4 major weapons he could throw to out of a big formation, what is situated for running. Colston Loveland, man, is dope. He can run inside routes. He can run outside routes. He can get deep. He's a bigger body tight end. He can shade people. He can do the back shoulder catch. This kid is going to be dynamite as long as Caleb Williams gets him the ball and they find unique ways and get him the ball out the backfield. And he's faster than you think as well, man. So look for the Bears to try to put up some points with people like Colston Loveland, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Cole Kmet, Luther Burden, etc. Ryan Poles doing his thing out there. It's the coaching, man. It's the coaching and the culture. What are those 2 things going to be about the Bears this upcoming season? But you got Colston Loveland, man. Put him out there on the field and let him make some plays. But got to give it to the coach, man, and see what draft pick he likes from this Bears team this past draft. Get him go.
You know what I love about this draft? Shout out to the GM. He's drafting also in the heart of where he is, the Big Ten. He knows the talent because he sees it consistently. The best college conference that's out there. I'm sorry, SEC. But seriously, yes, you guys said I'm going to shout out Kyle Monungai. Yes, I love it. I know he's a 7th-round draft pick, and most of y'all out there looking at me probably scratching your head. A 7th-round draft pick. I mean, the kid is from Jersey, went to St. Joseph's High School, wasn't highly recruited. So his teammate was recruited higher than him. This kid came in and worked his butt off. And Chicago Bears fans are going to see what I'm talking about. They will fall in love with him. He's not a tall running back. He's roughly 5'7", 5'8". But but he's around 210-ish pounds, but he's very physical, and he can cut, one-step cut, and make a defender move even right in the hole. Seen him make many a linebackers miss. Now, he's not a burner, but he has good enough speed that he'll get downfield. He'll catch the ball out of the backfield. But here's one other thing that, as a coach, I love in my running backs. He picks up the blitz. And furthermore, he'll put a 250-pound linebacker, 260-pound linebacker on his butt. You don't see that from running backs, especially nowadays. And he loves it. He loves it. He loves the physical aspect because people doubt him. And he loves proving people wrong. Chicago, that's your steal. I promise you, that's your steal. You're going to fall in love with him, and you're going to see the things that he can do for you and that organization. And he's going to help Mr. Williams play better. Mark my words. But that's all I have to say. Back to you guys.
Yeah. Well, you know, Coach. We know, man. Cal Monunga, man. But seriously, though, like I said, he was on my top 5 best fits. The series I did for the New York Giants. So yeah, kid can play. Kid, he's tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like tough football players, but do the Bears have a tough team? Let's break that down, man, as we get into the depth chart here. I mean, they did work. You know, they did work to kind of turn this team around, overhaul this team, so to speak. Since Ryan Poles has been there. I mean, looking at the offense, like I said, Caleb Williams, you got pieces. You got DJ Moore. You got Rome Odunze. Now you got Luther Burton III. You know, you got Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland. You got DeAndre Swift. You know, now you got Cal Monunga. And I think Cal Monunga is going to be that number 2. I think he going to get up to number 2 pretty quick. That's just an unpopular opinion. But and then on defense, man, you got a pretty decent defense to back them up too, man. I would say they're pretty good. I mean, you know, like Pat mentioned, Grady Jarrett, they got Montez Sweat over there. Odingbo, you know, they got Edwards and Edmonds, you know, the Double E, Tremaine and DJ, you know, so they got some linebackers that can fly around, make some plays. But again, man, I don't think it's no excuses here for Caleb Williams. You know, they even got him a decent backup, Case Keenum, not the greatest, but he has played in this league. He has done, you know, didn't he play a playoff game for the Minnesota Vikings at one point or something like that? But I don't know. Case Keenum, veteran quarterback. So you got somebody to kind of learn with. It's just no excuses for this dude. But y'all break this team down overall. Coach, defense, Pat offense. Yeah. Pat offense. Because I know Pat. I want you to give your true, honest opinion on this offense. And do you see any reason Caleb Williams should have any problems out there as far as the talent? Just the talent. You know, we could talk about Ben Johnson on a little sidebar here in a second, but just the talent. Does he have enough? Let's start it off, bro, and then Coach, we'll go to you for the defense.
All right. What's up, Coach? You know we got to do this little battle on every one of these previews, man. Hey, offense with the Chicago Bears. Let's talk about it, man. Hey, listen. Got DJ Moore at the 1, Rome Odunze at the 2. So you got DJ Moore and Odunze with the 1s and 2s. Zacchaeus, don't sleep on him. He actually can make some plays out there until Luther Burden is ready to come in and take that slot position. You got Tyler Scott, Devin Duvernay, Miles Boykins behind them. You got a little bit of depth at the receiver position as well. And I'm speaking of he, as in Ryan Poles, got you a whole new offensive line. Braden Jones, Joe Tooney, Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson, and Darnell Wright. That's a pretty good offensive line considering what you were playing with years prior. And then you got you 2 good tight ends, Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet, that can both do both. They can both block and go pass receive. You got DeAndre Swift as your number 1 running back. My nun guy, he is going to be the number 2. I think he beats out Rashawn Johnson from Texas. And they actually have a pretty decent 3-man rotation at the running back position. It's the quarterback position. I'm telling you, it's Caleb Williams. And I'll continue to say this with Caleb Williams, man. I told people about this kid coming out of college. Is he ready for the pressure of the NFL? Thank goodness the Giants didn't give up their whole 5 drafts to go up there and get him, because I promise you the pressure in New York, if he couldn't handle the pressure in Chicago, he definitely wouldn't be able to handle the pressure in New York. And I'm not saying that he will never grow into handling pressure, but it's just something about that kid, man. When you read energy, it's something about that kid to where when he makes mistakes, he's not honing in and saying, yo, it's really on me. He could go say it in the media all day, but his actions say different. His actions say he goes on the bench and pouts. His actions says he cries. His actions says he throws tantrums. His actions say he's not communicating with his players. Why do you think Keenan Allen was so frustrated last year until they started force feeding him the ball? It's just something about this kid that's a little off. And I'm going a little bit too long at the tooth from getting handed over to coach. But that's just something that Chicago Bears fans need to monitor, man. Is that kid really the franchise quarterback that can lead your team to a Super Bowl? Because you ain't won a Super Bowl since '85 and ain't been to one since 2006 with Rex Grossman. So we're gonna see, because I think that defense is intact. But coach, you tell them about that defense. That's just my pure thoughts on the Bears offense is with Caleb Williams. They have everything else.
I do like this defense, man. That front 7, man. If I'm front 6, 7, however you want to categorize it, I'm sitting here salivating. The games that I could play up front, the things that I could do with Edmonds and Edwards backing up that front 4, you're not gonna easily run on them. And if they can get you behind the sticks, then they could really get after you. As Pat would say, they can get after your ass. So I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, now who's the DC? Because there's things that I could do with some of these safeties and these cornerbacks, even bringing the heat off of that, rotating coverage on the back end. I'm saying to myself, wow, you know, if they can hold the fort in shutting down the run, you know, they were fairly all right in the pass coverage. So I'm like, okay, I definitely like that. You know, Dayo, Garrett, you know, Dexter, Sweat up front, man, and then Edmonds and Edwards, you know, Stevenson and Johnson at your corners. You know, Baird is a decent safety. He really is coming forward from Philly. You know, Brisker is going to continue to develop and grow. You know, I'm sitting here saying, wow. You know, I mean, Ruben Hippolyte, I followed him a little bit in college. He can develop into something, you know. So, I mean, man, I'm just looking at this defense and the conference the division that you're playing in. Wow. You know, they're going to need to play some defense, especially with some of those offenses. So, and you don't need to shut out any offenses. You just need to contain them and not allow them to score touchdowns. Force them to kick field goals. And I think this defense can do that. But that's just my thoughts. Back to you guys.
Yeah. I'm I'm with you. They got a solid, talented team. It's going to be on the coach and the quarterback. And that's kind of been a theme in this division, if you think about it. Coach and quarterback. Because talent-wise, this is one of the most talented divisions, team by team, that we've covered so far in the NFL. On both sides of the ball. I mean, as far as balance, every team, it seemed like, got pretty good defenses and pretty good offenses. It's the questions are the coaches, and the quarterbacks, you know, and that's where we at. That is where we at. That being said, Ben Johnson, is he the right guy? Is he the right guy? Give me a confidence level. I know it's hard to judge. You haven't seen him, but just trying to see what he did coming from Detroit. You know, we seen his press conference. I think we broke that down on the show before. Is he the guy? Because I asked y'all that member about Matt LaFleur. Because talent-wise, this team should be able to compete. This coach, Ben Johnson, is going to have to get the absolute most, not just out of Caleb Williams, but out of this roster in order to compete with the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings, because we've seen what they got. Y'all can answer that for me real quick before we look at the schedule. Is Ben Johnson, because this is part of the team, we previewing the roster, the overall team. Is Ben Johnson, I mean, what's your confidence level that he could take this team to the next level? They won 5 games last year.
My confidence level is not super high with Ben Johnson. Like I said, it's something about that guy too. I don't know. It's a lot of energy reading, kind of phony to me. You know what I'm saying? Like a phony type leader. He's not a guy that's going to get you motivated. You're going to have to go out there and do it yourself and be as a team and get yourselves motivated. And if your coach is like that, then you're going to need a quarterback that's like that as far as a leader. And I don't think they have the quarterback that's like that as a leader. So it's going to have to come from somebody. And when you look at their roster, they don't have a lot of people that have major leadership type qualities that I haven't seen it. Jalen Johnson, super talented, but he just goes out there and plays. DJ Moore, super talented, just goes out there and plays. He'll show his frustration, but I don't see him going out there just leading people. So who is that guy? Can it be Joe Thuney? Now that's a guy that I think that could go out there and lead those guys, Joe Thuney. But as far as the confidence in Ben Johnson, I don't have the confidence in Ben Johnson. He's going to have to show me. It's one of the times where you're going to have to show me exactly what you're about, because that whole press conference and just his energy in general, man, it just seems like one of those offensive guys that gets the job because he has a high-powered offense as a coordinator. But when it comes to being a leader of men, it's not like that. You know what I'm saying? And you could go through a list of offensive coordinators that's turned out like that. But go ahead, Coach. What's your confidence level in him?
I just can't. I just can't give a confidence level because I don't know. I really don't know. When you're a first-year head coach, like it could be one thing if he was doing it in the college, even in high school. Then I could get a certain type of a feel, and I haven't seen reports that I don't recall him coaching in college levels. So it's hard for me to say confidently, he's going to get them over the hump in the first year. I have
okay, talk about the impact that he could have on Caleb Williams then, because to me, this what this is about. What do you think?
as far as can he get to Caleb Williams, I mean, I'm going to have to say yes, because remember,
He can get the most out of Caleb Williams, because that's what I think. Yeah.
remember when what you call came over from Detroit, I mean from the Rams to Detroit, he was not considered a good quarterback, and look what you ended up getting from him. Now, Ben Johnson saw what he can do and molded the offense around that. So can he do that with Caleb Williams? Yes. The bottom line still is Caleb Williams. What does he have right here? What does he have right here? No one can coach that up. No one. I don't care if you're Bill Parcells. I don't care if you're Bill Belichick, Vince Lombardi. I don't care who it is. If you don't have it here, you don't have it here. Now, Johnson as a head coach, because as a coordinator, it's different being the moving over one seat to the head position. Because like Pat says, you have to be a leader of men. Yes. Now, I would say because you ran an offense that's still showing some abilities to be a leader of men, but it's different when you're not dealing with the defense, because the defense is a different mindset and a mentality. So as far as confidence, it's hard. I don't want to be too hard on him and say I don't have it. You know, if you want to say 49%, I'll give him 40. I'm at 49%. I still need to see it. I still need to see it. Like Pat is saying, you need to see it, but you know, I mean, I can't also put him in a shitter. He's a first-year head coach. It's like it's too hard for me to do that.
Let's go ahead and see what they got on the schedule, because they got the second hardest schedule in the NFL as far as strength of schedule is concerned. The first one is the New York Giants, so NFL not doing the bad teams no favors here. But somehow BetMGM has them at 8.5. Remember, they gave the Vikings 8.5, and they won 14 games. This team won 5. That's why I came back to the coaching question. Because again, you starting off with Minnesota and Detroit in your division. So we're going to see what you made off right off the bat. Dallas, Vegas, and Washington, tough. New Orleans. But then it gets serious. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Giants, they can give you a run, just depends. Then Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Philly, Green Bay, Cleveland, Green Bay, San Francisco, Detroit. I don't know. I think 8.5 a bit high. But what's your guys' thoughts? Over, under for the Bears?
Minnesota, washed. Detroit, washed. Dallas, washed. Maybe the Raiders. Commanders, washed. They'll beat the Saints. Baltimore, washed. Cincinnati is going to be a battle. New York Giants is always a battle. Minnesota, washed. Pittsburgh, washed. Philly, washed. Green Bay, washed. They'll beat Cleveland. Maybe get Green Bay the second game if they tripping down this stretch. San Francisco, maybe. Detroit, maybe, because Detroit might not be having nothing to play for. Under. They're under. There's no way possible this team gets to 9 games. No way possible. I don't see it, man. Coach, talk to him. I don't see it.
Play that right now. I'm going right to the MGM bet
MGM
website.
Grand
and I'm
tripping
playing the under. Coach.
5, maybe 6 wins. Maybe push 7. To be honest with you, I'll say this: if they get 6 or 7 wins, then Ben Johnson and how they compete and play, because that's the first. That's the first thing. You know, with a young coach, a new head coach, can you get this team to at least compete? Because that's the first step. You got to be competitive.
You got to compete.
Then you want to move on to, you know, you want to be a good game manager and a CEO during the course of your first season. But, you know, with a rookie head coach, a second-year quarterback that you're still trying to get used to and develop. And like Pat, I've never had confidence in him as a #1 overall draft pick. Personally, no. I broke down a ton of film, been following him for the longest while. You know,
me too.
It's just I didn't see it. You know, I don't care about the crying. I don't care about the painting the fingernails. That stuff doesn't bother me. But it's just the other stuff, and this is where Ben Johnson is going to earn his money, because I just said it about Goff. You know, can you turn this quarterback? Because when Goff was thought of as being trash when he was coming over from Los Angeles, and he became a well-respected. Can Ben Johnson do this with him? Can he? That's the whole question. So if this team to get the 6 to 7 wins, if they're competitive, especially, what do you guys always say? Your division games. That's where it lies. If you're at least competitive and can win a game or two, especially a game you shouldn't have won, then you're headed in the right direction with him as a head coach. Because there is talent. We just broke down the talent. There is talent there. So, but, you know, as far as the teams they're playing, it's tough. It's tough. You know, so, I mean, like I said, 5, 6, maybe 7 wins. I'm taking the under.
Again, somebody's got to win this NFC North, NFC East battle. You know, because the teams are facing each other. You know, when I look at the Bears match up against the NFC East, I'm rolling with the NFC East. You know, with Detroit, I'm rolling with Detroit. You know what I'm saying? So that's the difference between first and your last. Under.
Yeah, and I'm gonna show you a reason why I don't trust this kid Caleb Williams as your leader. I just don't trust him, and this here shows it right here. Now, don't look at him not hitting the target, because it wasn't about him hitting the targets. It's about them just hitting the pole. But watch this dude, man. Okay, obviously he didn't get the result that he wanted. Look at him. Just look at him, bro. This is a weird little dude, man.
It's
a weird little dude.
It's the reaction you would see from a child, to be honest with you. And I'm not calling him. It's a grown man, obviously. I want to keep this in perspective and be respectful, but that kind of reaction is very childish. Like, just the body language of it all. I understand the first. Look, listen. Let me finish my point real quick. I understand the frustration, but I just, it to me, a lot of Caleb Williams is body language. You know, it's not necessarily what he's saying or what he's doing. It's just body language, and sometimes body language can tell a better story than you actually speaking in your words. But go ahead.
You're right in that regard. The only thing I'll add to it is when he came back to the drill, did he do better? Because if that means he's getting hard on himself, but now he's pushing himself to perfection, I get it. It does come across as childish. You know, you're frustrated. You're having a temper tantrum. I will say this, though. Did he come back the next time or whatever they were doing next, and he played much and he practiced much better? So one little clip like this, I get it. I get where you're going. It does come across as childish, and it is. But does it also motivate him to go back into practice and practice better? Because as a coach, that's some of the things that I'm taking notes of. Yeah, I am. You know, all right, yeah, he's acting, you know, a little childish. But now, the next drill, how is he responding? Is he better? Is he letting some of the mistakes go also? Also, did somebody go over and talk to him? Bro, let that go. Let it go. Move on to the next thing. So it's a clip. I get it. And you're right. We got to dissect it and analyze it. But, I look at the totality of things from practice, though. So that's just me.
Yeah. But let's wrap this up,
and that
fellas.
comes.
We're gonna go ahead and wrap this
say
up.
one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Say one thing about this situation that comes to the totality of football. Coach is absolutely right. Did he go back to the huddle and go back there and do what he was supposed to do? Mm-hmm. Or did somebody like a Joe Thuney come over there and talk to him and get his head straight? We're going to see with the Chicago Bears, man. But 9 times out of 10, this dude does this and it's over with. I'm telling you. I don't know what it is about this kid, but go ahead, NYG.
Yeah, it's not a good look. But that's it, man. That's it. That is what we got, man. This division is very, very interesting, though. There's a lots and lots of talent on both sides of the football for each team in this division. To me, the theme here, coach, quarterback combination, which one is going to win out? You know what I'm saying? The Lions might have a little bit edge in talent, and they've been together a little bit longer, but they still got coach turnover too. Remember, they lost 2 coordinators. The Bears have a new coach, pretty much a new quarterback. They're the baby of it. The interesting thing though is Minnesota and especially Green Bay, because Green Bay should be that team because they got Jordan Love, who's been there, and LaFleur, who has been there as well. And they have a good solid core. So I would look for that team to challenge the Lions if I had to pick a team to dethrone. Because just putting it all together like we just did, I got some questions in Chicago, definitely. In Minnesota, I don't know about McCarthy either. But what's your guys' final thoughts on this division?
Just like you said, the coach QB combos in the NFC North, man. The Packers should have the edge in that category, but is Matt LaFleur actually a good coach? We don't know. Dan Campbell, can you keep the roar going in Detroit after losing some of your soldiers? Minnesota, is JJ McCarthy the right pick? Chicago, Caleb Williams, is Ben Johnson a leader of men? Is Caleb Williams a leader of men? Is there a leader of men on the Chicago Bears? They got the talent. They got the GM correct. That's a fact. You lose your whole offensive line, you go get a whole new offensive line. And you did lose them. You really got rid of them. Just keep it a buck. He got rid of them and brought in a whole new offensive line. So you got him an offensive line. You got him weapons. You got him a defense. Now, do you have him a coach? That's what's going to be on Ryan Poles. Did you hire the right guy, Ben Johnson, or was it just a, hooray hire? We can bring it in the offensive guru. I don't know. This division can be up and down all year, but I do think Detroit will be the most consistent and take that division. But Coach, what you got for us?
This division, the black and blue division, as it's always been known, there's talent up and throughout this whole division on every 4 teams. So, NYG, you have an excellent point. Is it about the coaching? The quarterback and the coaches. That's really what it'll come down to, ultimately, because they all play pretty much, for the most part, the same. They play the same division, so they're playing tough divisions. Their division in itself is going to be tough. There's talent on every. We've shown you the talent on all 4 teams. It comes down to the coaching and the quarterback in the end. That's all I have to say.
And that's all we got to say for this episode right here. Last but not least, coming back with the NFC East. Speaking of one of the divisions the NFC North is going to be playing. So we're going to get a good little idea of how well these two divisions stack up against each other, you know, and who may have the edge, you know, in the interdivision battle. It's going to be fun. But all that said, we're going to get up out of here. Please like, subscribe. It's the ABSN, baby. Y'all know how we do. See us on the next one. Doses.
Peace.